Hey friends, Todd Chipman here, Dean of Graduate Studies, Associate Professor of Biblical Studies at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, doing a book chat here to talk about Daniel Stevens' new book, looking at the songs of the Son, Psalms in Hebrews that refer to Jesus. What a great creative little book here. When I do a book chat, I think about the argument, the benefits, any concerns I have. The argument here is that we can read both Hebrews and Psalms better if we read together the Psalm text in its full expression that the author of Hebrews takes up. And then after we see how Hebrews uses it, we go back to that Psalm and reread the Psalm. There's a back and forthness. And I think Stevens helpfully writes here that we read well when we read the Bible together in sections together. We read well when we read something twice, just as we would a classic book, and certainly with Hebrews. Now, think about the book of Hebrews. The author is dependent on the Psalms right away. Psalm 2, Psalm 45, Psalm 102, Psalm 110, Psalm 8, into Psalm 95. These just percolate in the early chapters of Hebrews. But Stevens isn't so concerned about the argument of Hebrews necessarily and how Hebrews uses these Psalms. He's looking at each Psalm individually and then how Hebrews uses it and then back to that Psalm. So the chapters are arranged not by how the author of Hebrews uses the Psalm, but simply by order of the Psalms. So Psalm 2 is used early on in the book of Hebrews, and so is Psalm 110, but Psalm 110 is much later in Stephen's presentation. It's going to be after. So he takes the Psalms just in their numerical order, presents them, looks at how Hebrews uses them, and then we take that idea and go back to, or we should say those ideas, back to the Psalm text. There's a sense in which some might say he's reading backward, but he's already read forward, and that's the key. To read forward first and then to read backward and look. Really a gospel-centeredness then along the way, a helpful guide in that sense. You get to know the Psalms in a fuller expression, I think. I'm not sure you get to know Hebrews all that much better in each case. I think in some cases, yes, but there's always a sensitivity to look at how the author uses the Old Testament text on his own. And that we don't have quite so much here, but we do have a creative expression of how the Psalms can be read with Hebrews and understood together. I recommend it. Great devotional reading, and for a small group study to better use Hebrews and Psalms, this could be helpful for you. For more book chats, go to biblicalstudiestoday.com. More information on biblical studies resources, mbts.edu. See you next time.